Smokeslinger Liberty coming at you with another episode of Barbecue Buyer's Guide, this time featuring some of the hottest new offset smokers on the market this year as we start heading into the warmer months. Some of you may argue that the Texas Smoke King from M&M Barbecue is pretty hot on the market now. I did my first episode on that smoker back in August, and I'll link that above if you want to check it out. These three smokers, however, I've not covered yet. And here you can see chapter times. If you'd like to skip ahead, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. And first, we have maps and shipping. And I like to show these just because how close you are to these American manufacturers can determine the transportation cost of your pit, which, with pits of this size and weight, can be a significant part of the overall cost. We'll start with Moberg smokers, which are just northeast of San Antonio, Texas. Smokeslinger Pits is east of Dallas. Superior Smokers is up in Saginaw, Michigan. I have Workhorse Pits there in northern Georgia. I like to include them in my offset episodes as sort of a benchmark of comparison as the industry leader. You'll see them again in the chart section. Now, we're starting with the Liberty 94-gallon offset smoker, which is $2,899. They currently have 4-week lead times. Shipping is generally between $400 and $700 in the lower 48 states, depending on how close you are to them in Texas. They also offer 12-month 0% financing, which is impressive. Now, let's take a look at some of the features. The most notable feature is an adjustable scoop baffle. Now, this isn't the first adjustable scoop baffle I've covered on the channel. The Barbecue HQ sells one for Old Country barbecue pits, and I'll link that episode if you want to see it. This one has two half-moon semicircle dampers that you can open or close before you start your cook to help determine how you want your heat distribution in the chamber. If you fully close them, there will be a cool spot right next to the baffle as it directs all the heat up and over whatever you might place on the grate there, making a hot spot on the side of the pit near the stack. Opening the baffles should even out temperatures, but you might have to play with this baffle to find the right balances that work best for you at any particular temperature range. Another thing I wanted to note is that this Smokeslinger pit is manufactured by the same people who make the Solution offset smoker put out by Jeremy Yoder for Mad Scientist Barbecue. Interestingly enough, Jeremy doesn't seem to have anything to do with this pit, which in some ways seems to be the big brother of the Solution offset. Yoder does have something to do, however, with the Evolution offset that we'll talk about later. But as for other features, Frank Cox, who works with Dustin to make these pits, told me that all the Liberty 94 offsets they will make in the future will have bar grates instead of expanded metal grates. Like the Solution offset, there is a bolt-on stack, which helps with shipping. The door is reinforced with brackets. The badging on the back of the main chamber looks really nice, which was one of the pet peeves I had with my Blue Smoke smoker. There's a ball valve for the grease drain, which is a feature the Workhorse pits recently made standard on their smokers as well. There's a plasma cut wood tray on the bottom that looks very nice. The casters are heavy-duty 8-inch casters. The chamber and firebox are 1/4-inch steel, as is the case with the rest of the pits in this episode. One thing to note is that this pit comes raw with uncoated steel. That means that you will have to put a coat of oil on the outside of the pit yourself. I've done it before. It's not overly hard, but it does take time and effort. Lastly, the smoke collector doesn't go all the way across the chamber, which is another pet peeve of mine. How much does that actually affect heat distribution? I don't know. There's probably some bounce back on those angles. I wouldn't let it stop you from buying this smoker if you wanted to get it, though. And now, we have the Economo from Moberg Smokers. If you haven't heard of Moberg Smokers before, it may be because they're much more on the commercial side of the market. Their smokers are used by quite a few of the barbecue restaurants featured in the Texas Monthly Top 50. So they have a really good reputation in the industry, as well as a catchphrase, gotta get a Moberg. The Economo, which is not their first, but is their latest backyard offset, and the only one available now, is selling for $3,595. They say they will be adding it to their website soon, but for now you can see it on their Facebook page and can contact the company via email to purchase. Now, the first thing to mention about this smoker is that it is made from never before used tanks that are 24 inches wide and a quarter-inch thick. The guiding principle behind Moberg smokers is all about guiding the airflow through the smoker without much in the way of hard breaks or angles. Everything is rounded. There's no baffling to direct airflow, only a plate that serves to block radiant heat from the fire. The Moberg elbow, which has been copied by several other builders, allows the natural curves of the tank to act as the smoke collector, which then funnels the air into a curved elbow with a reducer connected to the rest of the stack. The draw on this smoker is probably pretty considerable. There is a biscuit test they put out on social media dated December 15th, 2024 on Instagram that suggests the heat distribution is good. One thing to note, though, is that it appears that the grates don't go all the way up to the firebox side of the chamber, meaning that the area where the hottest airflow comes up may not have a grate there. Now, is this just because of the natural curve of the tank? I'm not entirely sure. Some other backyard offset smokers, like the Millscale 94, don't have grates across the whole chamber either. So, this is what it is, just how this smoker is. When we do look at the square inches chart, you'll see, though, that this will be reflected in the pit's lower numbers. Now, as for other features, the pit comes with a stainless steel shelf and a stainless steel ball valve. The firebox door is a thicker 3/8 inch steel. The wheels are all 6-inch swivel wheels that can lock. There's a pull bar, and the pit comes with high heat black paint, which is something I don't think either of the others have. Lastly, now, we have Superior Smokers, which was founded by 3 men, one of whom is Jeremy Yoder from Mad Scientist Barbecue. Why is Yoder making one pit in Texas, the Solution Smoker, and another pit in Michigan? I don't know. But I do know that this pit has some of the most interesting design features of any pit I've ever seen. It costs $5,499, and if you're not picking it up yourself in Michigan, there's a flat fee for all shipping in the lower 48 states, which is currently $1,385, which brings the total cost to $6,884. It's a lot of money, but the design features the pit boasts may suggest that the cost is worth it. Firstly, the pit has honeycomb stainless steel grates, which are incredibly strong, are easier to clean than regular expanded steel grates, and reportedly won't bow at higher temperatures. This is the only pit featured today that comes with a second level grate. Since heat rises, food on this grate will be cooking at a higher temperature than the lower grate. But the extra space can be useful, and a skilled pitmaster can make the situation work out in his or her favor. The firebox is insulated. The pit appears to come raw steel, so that you have to put the oil on the outside yourself, which may mean if this insulation is insulative enough, you might have to use a torch on the steel around the firebox to get it to polymerize for that coating that you want. The middle of the pit has an extra stack that can be used to bleed off heat in order to achieve lower temperatures in the main chamber. Jeremy Yoder put out a video using this pit recently in which he used the middle stack to help cold smoke the first part of his cook and had the smoker absolutely packed full of meat. The difficulty with this method of cold smoking that Barre Barbecue has made popular in recent months is finding the right balance of airflow to keep the fire going, smoke thickness, and lower temperatures, all of which are supposed to stay steady for several hours while you are ideally sleeping before getting up to finish the cook. This extra stack in the middle may be able to help you achieve those kind of results. Will we see more builders incorporate this feature in the future? Only time will tell. The innovative features don't stop there, however. The firebox door uses a cam system in which that piece of metal will push against the side of the door frame and hold your door open at whatever point you desire whenever you turn the handle to lock it in place. The main exhaust damper likewise has a notch system that's not pictured very well here, but the idea is that there are set notches for how much the exhaust damper is opened or closed. Lastly, the angles on the sides of the main chamber, which the company calls a super collector, reportedly makes it so that you can put the meat all the way up to the side of the pit without the bounce back that causes a small hot spot on the stack side of the pit, which is one issue the Goldie Smoker from M&M Barbecue has. You should be able to cook from end to end of the grate on this smoker without much issue of any hot spots. If you're wondering about the baffles in the Evolution Smoker, I decided to keep that for the accessories page because they sell their baffle to anyone who wants to use it. It's made for a 24-inch diameter pit and also has a built-in water pan shelf. Superior Smokers also sells extra-large cutting boards, perfect for cutting brisket on. If you watched my most recent cooking video, in which I did a brisket, I was running out of space on my cutting board, so buying one could definitely be worth it. They also sell a really awesome looking leather apron. And now we have some charts, starting with price. I added Workhorse Pit stock model 1975 in here for reference. The Liberty 94 is about $100 cheaper, but you have to apply your outer oil coating yourself. The other price differences can be seen plainly here as well. Now for Grate Space, you see where the Moberg smoker has a smaller number, which as I said before, I think is because of space left for hot air to come up or just the rounding of the tank. The Smokeslinger and Workhorse basically have the same amount of grate space. Their chamber size is supposedly exactly the same. The difference in numbers you see there may be from a half inch on one side of the Workhorse grates. Maybe just it's a little bit more efficient in how they made the grates. I'm not exactly sure. The Evolution smoker has a lot of space. The volume of the main chamber is somewhere around 115 gallons to begin with, so that's larger than these other ones. You have 1,251 inches squared on the main grate, and when you add the second grate in, it comes out to 1,873 inches squared. Now, here on the dollars per inches squared chart, you see that the slightly higher number of inches squared for the 1975 equaled out with the lower price of the Liberty 94, so that they have the same number. When you include both grates for the Evolution, it is $2.94 per square inch. Obviously, the number is higher when you only do the main grate. The Economo has the highest there with $3.82 per square inch. It should be noted, however, that all of those inches look like they're usable, whereas with the baffling on these other smokers, there will be some inches you won't be able to use. Even with the scoop baffles, you have to put that scoop in like 3 inches or so into the main chamber, which cuts off a little bit of space. And now we're on to my thoughts. The Liberty 94 has an interesting placement in the market. It really does seem like the bigger brother of the Solution offset. So if you wanted the Solution but decided you wanted a little bit more space, the extra $350, and note when I say $350 that I'm included the price of the thermometer that is an add-on for the Solution, that might be worth that extra money. The biggest competitor it has is the Workhorse Pits 1975, which now has a massive following and legions of fans. 1975 has slightly thicker metal, but the real question I think you have to ask yourself when you're choosing between these two smokers is how much you believe in the scoop baffle. The Workhorse Pits are very well balanced for the baffling that they have, but the scoop baffle is its own thing. You can certainly get cheaper offsets like my Blue Smoke smoker with a scoop baffle, but the fit and finish on the Liberty 94 is probably going to be a little bit better. Now, for the Economo, I really like the tank aesthetic of this smoker. The stainless steel touches are also really nice. Is it more expensive than smokers like the Liberty 94 and the Workhorse Pits? It sure is. On the other hand, it's significantly cheaper than some of its competitors like the Millscale 94. It's likely that this smoker has the best draw of any of the ones featured on this episode. Can't back that up with any data, and for all I know, it may be more draw than you need. But especially in the later parts of the cook, when you're trying to get that really nice bark and, render out the fat cap of your brisket or your pork butt, that draw can be really useful. I think that there are a certain number of offset traditionalists and purists who are really going to want this Economo. Besides, it has a stainless front shelf, which is maybe one of the best auxiliary features when making barbecue. Lastly, we have the Evolution Smoker. This thing's a beast. I've noticed that a lot of barbecue restaurants have added like a Goldie's pit so that they can add to their cooking space for their restaurant. It wouldn't surprise me if some barbecue restaurants added the Evolution Smoker to their arsenal in the same way. Moberg's 250 gallon, after all, starts at $8,500. So this cost per square inch for this Evolution Smoker could really work out if a restaurant owner believed they could use both top and bottom racks successfully. Now, as for backyard pitmasters, is the Evolution Smoker overkill for most of your needs? Yes. If you do barbecue catering, pop-ups, anything at the level of making large quantities of barbecue, I definitely think that this smoker could absolutely be the right one for you. Now, I should note that I said the same thing about the cabinet pellet smoker from Lone Star Grills, and I was surprised by how many people wanted it over the smaller models anyway. So maybe it will be the same with this Evolution Smoker. It definitely seems like the Lamborghini of barbecue smokers, and some people just want all the bells and whistles. Maybe that's you. And it really does seem to have the cold smoke method, which has become so popular lately, in the bag, so to say. Well, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Do you prefer one of these smokers over the others? Or maybe you own one of them. Put all your thoughts, reviews, and testimonials down in the comments section. And as always, go get your smoke on, y'all.